What happened to McLaren in Bahrain? I'm sure many of us were surprised when we saw McLaren running at the back of the grid during the 2022 season opening in Bahrain. At one point in time, they were running P18 and P20, which is crazy for a team that was consistently at the top of the midfield last year. And of course, they got that famous 1-2 in Monza. But seriously, what happened? Why were they struggling this entire weekend? Let's start all the way back to testing. First, they had a brake issue in testing, which meant the brakes were getting very warm very easily. Plus, Daniel Ricciardo also had COVID, which means he missed all of the Bahrain testing. That was already a bad sign, but it was just testing, so we didn't think anything of it. Then we go to qualifying, where Daniel Ricciardo missed Q2 and qualified P18. While Lando Norris made it to Q2 but only qualified P13, which means he missed Q1. That was a bad sign and one that was shocking for us F1 fans, as McLaren are usually in Q3 and last year Norris even got pole at the Russian GP. Obviously, McLaren were running a Mercedes engine and we all knew in qualifying that the Mercedes engine are much slower than they usually are. Then we move on to the race, and there is where we knew something was up with McLaren. We already spoke about the Mercedes engines, but the problems extend to more than the Mercedes engines. McLaren were the only team to use the medium compound tires to start the race, which was odd because everyone else was starting on softs. But when the lights went out, things already went wrong. They had a bad start, and the two cars were moving down the order to the point that Norris was in P18 and Ricciardo was in dead last. From there, we knew that something was up with the pace of the McLaren, and it would be like that for the whole race. And at one point in time, one of the McLarens were struggling to overtake a Williams. With the DNF of both Red Bulls though, and Pierre Gasly, plus the McLaren overtaking Nicolas Latifi and Nico Hülkenberg, they finished P14 and P15 with Ricciardo and Norris respectively. So here lies the question now, what actually went wrong with McLaren? Well, one reason for the performance could be contributed to the fact that the Mercedes engine cars were a lot slower compared to those powered by the Ferrari engine. Aston Martin and Williams were backmarkers throughout the whole race, while cars that were backmarkers last year like Alfa Romeo and Haas were absolutely flying, all because their engine, with even Kevin Magnussen in the Haas getting P5. And the other reason for the bad performance was also because of the lack of downforce the McLaren had. I'm not sure if you guys realize, but McLaren were one of few teams to figure out the porpoising issue in testing. And I guess the main reason for that is because they lack downforce, since porpoising is when the car gains downforce, then loses it, which causes it to bounce up and down. With a lack of downforce though, the car can't perform as well, especially when going into the corners. So, with that info, we're left with one question. Will McLaren be able to solve that problem during the course of the season? Well, maybe. According to this article from racefans.net, if it relates to its core aerodynamic philosophy, or if the brake cooling fix has forced severe compromises to its original concept, not only is the current configuration and performance at risk, but all the upgrades in the pipeline would have to be rethought. Aerodynamic components take time to simulate, test, and manufacture, so it will not be a quick fix. As updates get put onto the car, the situation for McLaren may improve, but they will be playing catch up as the teams in front continue to develop their cars as well. So, in a nutshell, McLaren might improve, but it won't be easy as aerodynamic components take a while to test and simulate. Plus, they'll be playing catch up as other teams are already improving their cars. This means that we might not see the McLaren that we saw last year improving, and instead we might just see the McLaren that we saw in 2017 or 2018, but this time hopefully without reliability issues. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about McLaren this year. Are they going to improve or are they not going to improve? So yeah, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.